I'm Natalie, 35, a single mom to my amazing 7-year-old daughter, Emma. For years, I've navigated the minefield of my family dynamics, always feeling like I was walking on eggshells around my mother Margaret and sister Rebecca. But nothing prepared me for discovering they organized an extravagant family party and deliberately excluded only one child, my daughter. The betrayal cut deep, especially seeing Emma's confusion as cousins shared excited party plans. I didn't scream or cause a scene, though. I chose a different approach, one that would teach them exactly what happens when you hurt my child. If you're watching this from somewhere where family loyalty matters, hit subscribe and join me as I explain how I taught my family the ultimate lesson about the consequences of hurting a child. Growing up in Fairfield, Connecticut, family meant everything to us. We were one of those large, traditional American families where Sunday dinners were mandatory, holidays were elaborate affairs, and the matriarch, my mother Margaret, ruled with an iron fist disguised in a velvet glove. Our extended family included aunts, uncles, and more cousins than I could count on both hands. The Wallace family name carried weight in our community, and maintaining appearances was practically a religion. From early on, the family dynamic was clear. My younger sister Rebecca was the golden child, beautiful, compliant, and eager to please our mother. I was the rebel, the questioner, the one who wanted to forge my own path. This didn't sit well in a family where tradition and conformity were valued above all else. Still, I managed to build a successful career as an accountant, despite my mother's constant reminders that Rebecca's choice to become a part-time real estate agent while focusing on family was more appropriate for a Wallace woman. When I got pregnant with Emma at 28, the father, Brian, a man I'd been dating for just over a year, wanted nothing to do with parenthood. He left town before Emma was born, sending occasional child support payments, but never once asking to meet his daughter. My decision to raise Emma alone was met with thinly veiled disapproval from my mother, who believed children needed proper families. Rebecca, who had married her college sweetheart Jason right after graduation and gave birth to my niece Lily just months before Emma arrived, enjoyed pointing out how our traditional choices had led to a more stable environment for her child. The first signs that Emma was being treated differently were subtle. At Christmas, Lily would receive elaborate presents while Emma's gifts seemed like afterthoughts. At family gatherings, my mother would scoop Lily into endless hugs and photo opportunities, while Emma stood awkwardly to the side. When family photos were displayed in my mother's home, I noticed Emma was often on the edges, barely visible, while Lily was prominently featured. I tried to dismiss these observations as my own insecurity or oversensitivity. By the time Emma was 5, even she began noticing the discrepancy. "Grandma likes Lily better, doesn't she?" she asked one night after family dinner where my mother had praised Lily's piano recital for 20 minutes but hadn't commented on Emma's recent academic achievement. The innocent question broke my heart. I assured her that wasn't true, even as doubt gnawed at me. Determined to address the issue, I approached my mother after Emma's 6th birthday, when my mother had arrived late, stayed briefly, and brought a generic toy store gift that was clearly purchased on the way. I carefully explained my concerns about Emma feeling excluded and asked if there was some issue I wasn't aware of. "Don't be ridiculous, Natalie," my mother dismissed with a wave of her hand. "I love all my grandchildren equally. Emma is just more independent like you were. Lily needs more attention." Similar conversations with Rebecca went nowhere. "Maybe if you made more effort to bring Emma to family events instead of always being so busy with work, she'd feel more included," she suggested, conveniently ignoring the times I had made arrangements only to have plans changed at the last minute. Still, I persisted. During a family weekend at my mother's lake house last summer, I orchestrated a heart-to-heart with both my mother and sister. Emma and Lily were swimming with cousins, supervised by our Aunt Diane, while we sat on the deck drinking iced tea. "I need to talk to you both about something important," I began carefully. "Emma has noticed she's being treated differently than Lily, and honestly, so have I. It's creating insecurities in her that break my heart to see." My mother sighed dramatically. "You've always been oversensitive, Natalie. You're imagining slights where none exist," Rebecca added, Maybe if you weren't so quick to find fault, Emma wouldn't pick up on your negative attitude. I held my ground, presenting specific examples. The Christmas gift disparity, the photo placement, the different tones of voice used with each girl. Finally, perhaps just to end the conversation, they relented somewhat. If we've given that impression, it certainly wasn't intentional, my mother conceded. Of course we love Emma. We'll make more effort moving forward. Rebecca nodded in apparent agreement. We'll plan some special things to include Emma more. Promise. I left that conversation feeling cautiously optimistic. Perhaps I had gotten through to them. Perhaps they genuinely hadn't realized how their behavior appeared. The next few weeks seemed to support this hope. My mother called Emma directly to chat, and Rebecca invited us for a cousin sleepover that Emma talked about for days afterward. I believed we had turned a corner. I couldn't have been more wrong. The first hint of what was coming appeared innocuously enough. A colorful post on my cousin Thomas's Facebook page in early April. Can't wait for the big family kids bash next month. Pony rides? Aunt Margaret is going all out this year. I smiled, assuming this was some event I'd soon be hearing about. Emma loved animals, and the thought of her getting to ride ponies made me happy. I made a mental note to check my email for an invitation. Days passed, then weeks. My social media feeds filled with excited chatter from various family members about the party of the year. Aunts discussed what to wear, uncles joked about who would embarrass themselves on the bouncy castle, cousins coordinated carpools. Yet somehow no invitation appeared in my mailbox or email. I told myself there must be a simple explanation. Perhaps my mother was planning to call me personally. Maybe the invitation had gotten lost. I didn't want to appear eager or demanding by asking directly, but as the apparent scale of the event became clearer through snippets of conversation and social media posts, my concern grew. This wasn't just any gathering. This was shaping up to be an extravaganza with professional entertainers, custom catering, and elaborate decorations. Emma, who followed several of her teen cousins on her supervised social media account, came to me one evening practically bubbling with excitement.
Mom.
Did you see the party Grandma's planning? Madison posted that there's going to be a chocolate fountain and pony rides. When is it? What should I wear? I felt a knot form in my stomach, but kept my expression neutral. I'm not sure of all the details yet, sweetheart. Let me find out more. The next day, I called my cousin Jessica, who had always been kind and straightforward with me. Hey Jess, quick question. I've been seeing posts about Mom's big party, but I seem to have missed the details. Can you fill me in so I can put it on our calendar? A pause. Too long a pause. Oh, Natalie. Jessica's voice dropped. I thought you knew. The party is next Saturday at your mom's place. It's this big children's event for all the family kids. There's going to be over 100 people. Great, thanks. I'll RSVP right away. Emma is so excited about the pony rides. Another uncomfortable pause. Nat, I don't know how to say this, but Emma's name isn't on the guest list. Rebecca sent it out to everyone. I assumed you and Emma had other plans that day, or maybe you were helping host. It didn't make sense otherwise. The room seemed to tilt slightly. What do you mean Emma's not on the guest list? It's a family children's party. Emma is family. She's a child. Jessica's voice was gentle but distressed. I know. That's why I assumed there was some explanation. The invitation specifically listed all the children's names, and Emma's just wasn't there.
I'm so sorry, Nat.
I thought you knew. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence before anger propelled me to action. I called my mother immediately. Mom, there seems to be some confusion about your party next weekend. Jessica says Emma wasn't included on the guest list. That can't be right. My mother's response was so casual it felt like a physical blow. Oh, Natalie, I was going to talk to you about that. We thought it best if Emma didn't attend this particular gathering. Excuse me? You're throwing a massive party for every child in the family except my daughter? What possible reason could you have for that? Her explanation was a masterclass in gaslighting. Emma gets overwhelmed at large events. Remember how she spilled punch at Christmas? And she sometimes doesn't interact well with the other children. We thought she might be uncomfortable with so much stimulation. It's really for her own good. These were blatant lies. Emma was a well-behaved, sociable child who got along wonderfully with her peers. The punch incident had been a minor accident that any 7-year-old might have had, quickly cleaned up and forgotten by everyone except, apparently, my mother. That's absurd, and you know it. Who made this decision? Well, Rebecca thought. And there it was. My sister, once again, manipulating the situation. I immediately called Rebecca, who didn't even attempt the "it's for Emma's own good" pretense. Look, Natalie, this party is costing a fortune. It's being professionally photographed and videoed for a family legacy project. Lily has been practicing a dance performance with her cousins for weeks. We just don't need any unpredictability. Emma can come to the next regular family dinner. I was speechless with rage. Unpredictability? She's a perfectly normal 7-year-old girl. The only unpredictable thing here is how you and Mom can be so deliberately cruel to a child. Don't be so dramatic. It's just one party. After hanging up, I had to lock myself in the bathroom to cry silently so Emma wouldn't see. How could I possibly explain to my daughter that her grandmother and aunt had decided she alone wasn't worthy of inclusion? That her cousins would all be enjoying pony rides and bouncy castles while she sat home, excluded and unwanted? That evening, Emma bounded up to me. Mom, Madison texted me asking what color dress I'm wearing to Grandma's party so they can coordinate. Can we go shopping this weekend? I felt physically ill but maintained my composure. Sweetheart, I need to check a few things about the party. Let's talk about dresses after I've sorted out the details. Later that week, while paying bills, I had a realization that made my blood run cold. Years ago, before Emma was born, my mother had added me as an authorized user on her premium credit card, supposedly to help build my credit score when I was fresh out of college. I had rarely used it and had almost forgotten about it until a conversation with my Aunt Patricia revealed that my mother was funding the elaborate party using that same joint account. Your mom's going all out, Patricia had commented during a phone call. She put down nearly $30,000 on that joint card you two share. Rebecca's handling all the arrangements, but your mom's covering the cost. That night, I lay awake considering the implications. As an accountant, I understood credit liability better than most. As an authorized user on that card, I wasn't legally responsible for the debt, but I was associated with the account. More importantly, I had access to it. And my professional expertise told me something else. Credit card companies take fraud claims very seriously, especially on premium accounts with large, unusual charges. For the first time since discovering the party situation, I felt a glimmer of something other than helpless rage. I had a leverage point. I had a way to respond that wouldn't involve a public scene or directly exposing Emma to family conflict. I just needed to decide if I was willing to use it. The Saturday of the party arrived with perfect spring weather, sunshine, blue skies, and a gentle breeze. The kind of day made for children's outdoor celebrations. I had managed to keep Emma in the dark about the specifics, telling her we had special mother-daughter plans that day. But keeping secrets in the age of social media proved impossible. Emma and I lived in a garden apartment complex where several of my cousins' families also resided, part of the close-knit nature of our extended family. At 9 that morning, Emma was helping me make pancakes when she spotted her cousins through our kitchen window. 8-year-old Zach and 10-year-old Madison were getting into their parents' car, dressed in party clothes, carrying wrapped presents. Mom, where's Zach and Madison going all dressed up? Emma asked, flour dusting her cheeks. I'm not sure, sweetie. I lied, feeling awful. Let's focus on our pancakes. I'm thinking we add chocolate chips to this batch. For a while, the distraction worked. We ate our breakfast and played a board game. I had planned a full day, the children's museum in the morning, lunch at her favorite restaurant, and a movie in the afternoon. But as we were getting ready to leave, Emma's tablet pinged with notifications. Before I could intervene, she had opened them. They were posts from her cousins. Live updates from the party. Photos of ponies with ribboned manis. Videos of children bouncing on enormous inflatable castles. Snapshots of an elaborate dessert table with a chocolate fountain and a custom cake. And the caption on Madison's post, "Best family party ever. Everyone's here. Everyone except Emma." I found her sitting on her bed, tablet beside her, tears streaming silently down her face. When she looked up at me, the confusion and hurt in her eyes nearly shattered me. "Mom, why didn't we go to Grandma's party? Did I do something wrong? Why do all my cousins get to ride ponies but not me?" I sat beside her, pulling her close.
No, baby.
"You didn't do anything wrong. Not one single thing. Then why didn't Grandma want me there? Why didn't Aunt Rebecca and Lily want me there?" I had no good answer, no explanation that wouldn't either lie to her or devastate her further. Sometimes adults make mistakes, Emma. Big mistakes. And this was a very big mistake they made. But they invited everyone else. All my friends from the family, just not me. Her small voice broke, and with it, my heart. I held her while she cried, then helped her wash her face. We still went out for our day, but the joy had been sucked out of it. Emma was subdued, going through the motions. Several times I caught her checking her tablet, watching as more and more posts appeared showing her cousins and friends having the time of their lives at a party she'd been deliberately excluded from. That night, after Emma finally fell asleep, I sat in my darkened living room and allowed myself to feel the full force of my rage. I sobbed, for my daughter's pain, for the cruelty of my family, for my own helplessness. When I had no tears left, I called Amanda, my best friend since college, and the one person who knew all the complicated dynamics of my family. They did what? Amanda's outrage was validating. "That's beyond mean, Nat. That's psychological abuse of a child." I filled her in on all the details, including the financial information about the credit card. "So, what are you going to do?" she asked finally. "Confront them? Make a scene at the next family gathering?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me wants to burn every bridge and never let them near Emma again. Another part knows that cutting off her entire extended family would hurt her too. She loves her cousins, her aunts and uncles." "What about the credit card angle?" Amanda suggested. "You said your mom put the party on that joint account?"
Yeah.
"Nearly $30,000, according to my aunt. Custom everything, professional entertainment, the works." "And you're still an authorized user?" "Technically, yes." Amanda was quiet for a moment. "You know, as an authorized user, you could report those charges as fraudulent. Say you didn't approve them. The credit card company would investigate, freeze the account." "That would be lying," I pointed out, though the idea had already occurred to me. "Would it? Did you approve those charges? Did you even know about them before your aunt mentioned it? Charges for a party that deliberately excluded your child." I sat with that thought. As an accountant, I understood exactly what would happen if I reported those charges as fraudulent. The credit card company would immediately freeze the account pending investigation. They'd likely reverse the charges temporarily. Vendors would come calling for their money. My mother and sister would be left scrambling. It would cause chaos, I said slowly. "So, does excluding a 7-year-old from a family party for no good reason," Amanda replied. "And unlike their action, yours wouldn't directly hurt a child." Over the next few days, I researched the potential ramifications. I reviewed the credit card agreement. I considered the moral implications versus the pain my daughter had suffered, was still suffering, as photos and videos from the party continued to circulate. I thought about Emma's tear-stained face, asking what she'd done wrong. I recalled my mother's dismissive tone and Rebecca's casual cruelty. I remembered years of subtle exclusion building to this blatant rejection. Then I made my decision. This wouldn't be a public confrontation. I wouldn't expose Emma to more family drama. But I would ensure there were consequences, financial consequences, for their actions. On Tuesday morning, after dropping Emma at school, I made the call to the credit card company's fraud department. The phone call itself was surprisingly simple. Credit card companies deal with fraud claims constantly, and they have protocols in place. I called a premium customer service number on the back of my card, navigated the automated system, and was connected to a fraud specialist named Brian. Good morning, this is Brian with Capital Elite Card Services. How can I assist you today? I took a deep breath. I need to report potentially fraudulent charges on my account. I'm sorry to hear that, Ms. Wallace. I'd be happy to help you with this issue. Can you tell me more about the charges in question? There have been numerous large charges in the past few weeks, totaling approximately $28,000 for what appears to be event planning services, catering, entertainment, and rentals. I did not authorize these purchases and was not aware of them until a family member mentioned seeing the charges. Brian's tone turned more serious. I understand. That's a significant amount. Let me pull up the account details. Yes, I can see several large transactions from vendors like Premier Event Planning, Gourmet Catering Solutions, and Fairfield Party Rentals. You're saying you didn't approve these charges? That's correct. I'm an authorized user on this account, but I did not approve these specific charges, nor was I consulted about them. And when did you first become aware of these transactions? Just recently, through a conversation with a relative. I checked the online account afterward and saw all these charges I knew nothing about. Brian walked me through the formal dispute process. I would need to fill out a fraud claim form, providing details of the unauthorized charges. The credit card company would then investigate, during which time the account would be frozen and the disputed charges temporarily reversed. Please understand that filing a fraudulent claim is itself a serious offense, Brian cautioned. By proceeding, you're certifying that your statement is true. I thought about Emma's face when she realized she was the only child not invited. About my mother's dismissive explanation. About Rebecca's casual cruelty. I understand. My statement is accurate. I did not authorize these charges. After completing the claim, Brian informed me that a new card would be issued. The current account would be frozen immediately pending investigation, and the charges would be temporarily reversed while they contacted the primary account holder and the merchants involved. The investigation typically takes 7 to 10 business days, though with a case of this size, it might take longer. You'll receive written notification of any findings. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, thank you. You've been very helpful. I hung up, my heart racing. It was done. Within hours, any attempt to use that credit card would be declined. The reverse charges would mean vendors would be contacting my mother and sister about payment. The investigation would create financial chaos for them, the same kind of emotional chaos they created for my daughter. The first call came that evening. I was helping Emma with her homework when my phone lit up with my mother's name. Natalie, there's some problem with my credit card. It's been declined for the final payment to the party planner. Do you know anything about this? I kept my voice neutral. What kind of problem? They're saying the account is frozen due to a fraud investigation. It makes no sense. I need to make this payment today, or they'll send it to collections. That sounds frustrating, I said, feeling a grim satisfaction. Have you called the credit card company? Of course I have. They said they can't discuss it with me in detail because there's an ongoing investigation, but that the charges for some party-related expenses have been disputed by an authorized user. The only other person on that account is you. I remained calm. Interesting. Maybe you should talk to Rebecca about it, since she handled all the party arrangements. Natalie, did you report those charges as fraudulent? My mother's voice had taken on a dangerous edge. Mom, I need to help Emma with her homework. Good luck sorting out your credit card issue. I hung up, ignoring the immediate callback. Within an hour, both my mother and sister were blowing up my phone. I silenced it and focused on Emma, making sure our evening was peaceful and loving. The next morning, I had 17 voicemails and over 30 text messages. I deleted them all without listening or reading. I knew what they contained: demands for explanations, probably threats, certainly guilt trips. I wasn't interested. 3 days later, my Aunt Patricia called. Unlike my mother and sister, she had always been kind to both Emma and me. I answered her call. Natalie, honey, there's quite a situation brewing with your mother and Rebecca. They're saying you've created some kind of credit problem? There's an emergency family meeting called for Sunday at your mother's house. I'm aware there's a financial issue, Aunt Patricia. But Emma and I won't be attending any meeting. Sweetheart, whatever's happened, surely it can be worked out. Family is family. Yes, family is family. Perhaps someone should have remembered that when they threw a huge party and invited every child in the family except Emma. Patricia was silent for a moment.
I wondered about that.
It didn't seem right, but Rebecca said you and Emma had other plans that day. We had no such plans. Emma was deliberately excluded. She found out when she saw her cousin's social media posts and cried herself to sleep. So no, I won't be attending any meeting designed to pressure me into fixing a financial problem for the people who hurt my daughter. The family meeting happened without us. From bits and pieces I gathered from sympathetic relatives, it was chaotic. My mother explained the credit card situation, claiming I had vindicatively reported legitimate charges as fraudulent. Rebecca dramatically detailed the calls she was getting from vendors demanding payment. Various family members took sides, some outraged at what I'd done, others quietly questioning why Emma had been excluded in the first place. 3 weeks after my call to the credit card company, the situation escalated dramatically. The card company had completed their investigation and found that as an authorized user who had not approved the charges, I had legitimate grounds for disputing them. The charges remained reversed. The primary account holder, my mother, was now responsible for paying the vendors directly if she wished to contest this finding. By then, several vendors had sent Rebecca's outstanding balances to collection agencies. As the person who had signed most of the contracts, she was their primary contact. The first debt collector showed up at her door on a Tuesday afternoon, just as she was hosting her real estate client mixer in her immaculately decorated home. According to my cousin Jessica, who heard it from her husband who was doing landscaping work nearby, the debt collector was persistent, refusing to leave without speaking to Rebecca. The scene was witnessed by neighbors and clients alike. Rebecca's carefully cultivated image as a successful, put-together professional was cracking. That evening, I received my first direct contact from Rebecca in weeks, a single text message. "You've destroyed my reputation in this town. I hope you're happy."
I didn't respond.
2 days later, Jessica called me. "Nat, I thought you should know. Rebecca and Jason are putting their house on the market. They're moving to Greenwich." Rebecca told Mom it's for Jason's job, but everyone knows it's because of the debt collectors and the gossip around town. I felt a complex mix of emotions, satisfaction that there had been real consequences, guilt that things had gone this far, and underneath it all, a persistent sadness that my family had forced this situation in the first place. The next 3 weeks unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck. Rebecca and Jason expedited their move to Greenwich, a town 30 minutes away. They listed their house well below market value for a quick sale, fueling even more local gossip. Meanwhile, collection notices continued to arrive, not just for Rebecca, but now for my mother as well. I maintained my distance, focusing on Emma and her well-being. I enrolled her in a children's theater program where she was making new friends outside our family circle. I took on extra accounting clients to save for a special mother-daughter trip over the summer. We were healing, slowly creating a life that didn't revolve around the toxic family dynamics. Then came the Wednesday night when Rebecca showed up unannounced at my apartment, eyes blazing with a fury I'd never seen before. "How dare you hide from us?" she hissed when I opened the door. "Do you have any idea what you've done to this family?" I stepped outside, closing my door to ensure Emma wouldn't overhear. "I'm not hiding. I'm protecting my daughter from people who think it's acceptable to exclude a 7-year-old child from a family event. It was one party, Natalie. One day. And in response, you've destroyed my credit score, forced us to move, and humiliated me in front of the entire community." "It wasn't just one party," I countered, keeping my voice level despite my racing heart. "It was the culmination of years of treating Emma as less than. Years of subtle exclusion and favoritism. The party was just the final, undeniable proof." "So, you committed credit card fraud? Do you know I could press charges against you?" "It wasn't fraud. I didn't authorize those charges, which makes them fraudulent by definition." The credit card company agreed with my assessment. "But please go ahead and try to press charges." I'd love to explain to a judge how you and Mom deliberately excluded my child from a family event while using a credit card with my name attached to fund it. Rebecca's face contorted. Your precious Emma isn't the only one suffering now. Did you think about Lily? She had to leave her school, her friends, all because her aunt is a vindictive bitch. Don't you dare try to make me feel guilty about Lily. I shot back, anger finally breaking through my composed facade. I have bent over backward for years to ensure Emma and Lily had a close relationship despite your obvious favoritism. I've driven Emma to every playdate, bought birthday gifts from both of us when you forgot Emma's birthday, and made excuses for your behavior countless times. If Lily is suffering now, that's on you and your choices, not mine. Our argument escalated, drawing neighbors to peek through their blinds. Rebecca's voice rose to a shout as she detailed the financial havoc the fraud investigation had wrought. Not just the party charges, but her credit score plummeting, a real estate deal falling through when her credentials were questioned, and Jason facing embarrassment at his firm. Mom had to take out a personal loan to cover the party costs. She's talking about having to sell the lake house. Perhaps she should have thought about that before spending $28,000 on a party that deliberately excluded her granddaughter. I replied coldly. It wasn't deliberate. Emma is just difficult sometimes, and we wanted everything to be perfect. Difficult? Emma is a normal, well-behaved 7-year-old girl. The only difficulty is that she's my daughter, not yours. The truth finally emerged through Rebecca's rage.
Feeney.
Yes. I convinced Mom that Emma would ruin the party atmosphere, that she takes too much attention, just like you always did. It was supposed to be Lily's special day to shine, to perform her dance routine, to be the center of attention for once. For once? I echoed incredulously. Lily has been the golden grandchild since the day she was born. And you orchestrated an elaborate event, invited every other child in the family, and deliberately left out my daughter because you're so pathologically competitive that you couldn't stand the thought of Emma getting any attention at all. Rebecca's face flushed with a mix of anger and shame. You've always been jealous of my relationship with Mom, and you've always been threatened by the very existence of my daughter. Well, congratulations, Rebecca. Your pettiness has cost you your home, your reputation, and God knows what else. I hope it was worth it. I turned to go back inside when Rebecca grabbed my arm. This isn't over, Natalie. Mom is calling another family meeting this weekend. Everyone will be there. If you don't show up and agree to make this right, you and Emma will be cut off from this family permanently. I gently removed her hand from my arm. Threaten me all you want. But understand this. Anyone who thinks excluding a child is acceptable is not someone I want in Emma's life anyway. So maybe being cut off from certain family members would be a blessing, not a punishment. After Rebecca left, I went inside to find Emma sitting on the stairs, her face pale. She had heard everything. Is it true, Mom? Did Grandma and Aunt Rebecca not want me at the party because they don't like me? My heart shattered anew. I sat beside her on the step and pulled her close. No, baby. They made a terrible mistake because they were thinking about themselves, not about you. This has nothing to do with who you are and everything to do with who they are. But now everyone's fighting and Lily had to move away, and it's all because of me, she whispered, tears filling her eyes. None of this is because of you, I said firmly. The adults made bad choices, and now there are consequences for those choices. That's how life works. That night, I lay awake contemplating Rebecca's threat about the family meeting. Part of me wanted to ignore it entirely. Another part recognized that this conflict had grown beyond just my mother, sister, and me. The entire extended family was now involved, taking sides, forming opinions. Perhaps it was time to speak my truth to everyone at once. The meeting was scheduled for Sunday afternoon at my mother's house. After much deliberation, I decided to attend alone. Emma would spend the day with Amanda and her children, protected from whatever ugliness might unfold. When I arrived, the tension in my mother's living room was palpable. About 30 family members were present, aunts, uncles, adult cousins. My mother sat in her favorite armchair like a queen holding court, Rebecca and Jason beside her on the sofa. All eyes turned to me as I entered. "Thank you for coming, Natalie," my mother began, her voice cool and formal. "As everyone knows, we're facing a serious situation due to your actions." "Due to my response to your actions," I corrected. My mother continued, as if I hadn't spoken. "The credit card company has refused to reverse their decision. The vendors must be paid. Rebecca and Jason have been forced to relocate due to harassment from debt collectors. This family is being torn apart." Various relatives shifted uncomfortably. Some avoided my eyes. Others watched with open curiosity or judgment. "I've asked you here so you can explain yourself to the family, and so we can discuss how to move forward in resolving this unfortunate situation." I took a deep breath and addressed the room. "I'm here because I want everyone to understand exactly what happened. 3 months ago, my mother and sister began planning an elaborate family children's party. Every child in this family was invited, cousins, second cousins, even stepchildren and family friends. Every child except one, my daughter Emma." Murmurs rippled through the room. I continued. "When I discovered this deliberate exclusion and asked why, I was told Emma might ruin the atmosphere or cause problems, despite her being a well-behaved, normal 7-year-old girl. The real reason, as Rebecca finally admitted during our argument this week, was that she wanted her daughter to be the center of attention." I looked directly at my mother. "Mom put nearly $30,000 on a credit card that has my name attached to it to fund a party that deliberately excluded my child. As an authorized user on that account, I had every right to dispute charges I never approved for an event my daughter was banned from attending." "That's not how joint credit works, and you know it," Rebecca interjected. "You committed fraud." My Uncle Robert, a banker, cleared his throat. "Actually, Rebecca, if Natalie is an authorized user rather than a joint account holder, she's technically correct. She's not legally responsible for charges she didn't approve." "The point is," my mother cut in, "Natalie has created a financial crisis for this family out of spite." "Out of protection," I corrected. "My daughter discovered she was excluded when she saw her cousin's social media posts from the party. She asked me what she'd done wrong to make her family not want her. Can any of you imagine how that felt for her? For me?" A few of my aunts exchanged glances. My cousin Jessica spoke up. "I did think it was strange that Emma wasn't there. Rebecca told everyone you had other plans that day." "We had no other plans. We were never invited. Emma was explicitly excluded." The meeting devolved from there. Accusations flew. Rebecca's husband threatened legal action for financial sabotage. My mother attempted to rally family members to her side, claiming I had always been difficult and vindictive. But I noticed something interesting happening. Not everyone was buying their narrative. My Aunt Diane, my mother's own sister, finally stood up. "Margaret, I have to say, excluding one grandchild from a family event is inexcusable. I went along with it because you assured me Natalie and Emma had other commitments. If I'd known the truth, I never would have attended that party." Several other relatives nodded in agreement. The united front my mother had expected was crumbling. The meeting ended without resolution. My mother demanded I call the credit card company and retract my fraud claim. I refused. Rebecca alternated between tearful pleas about Lily's suffering and vicious attacks on my character. I remained calm, reiterating the simple truth: actions have consequences. As I was leaving, my Uncle Thomas stopped me at the door. "For what it's worth, Natalie, I think you stood your ground admirably. What they did to Emma was wrong. Period." His words meant more than he could know. For the first time, I felt that perhaps Emma and I weren't as alone in this family as I had feared. The weeks following the confrontational family meeting brought unexpected developments. Like a stone thrown into a pond, the ripples of our conflict spread outward, affecting the entire extended family in ways I hadn't anticipated. Our family, once seemingly united under my mother's iron rule, fractured into distinct factions. Some relatives doubled down on supporting my mother and Rebecca, either out of genuine belief in their side of the story or from years of habitual deference to my mother's authority. Others reached out to me privately, expressing support or at least understanding for my position. Most surprising were the allies who emerged from unexpected corners. My Aunt Diane, who had confronted my mother at the meeting, became a regular visitor to our apartment, bringing books for Emma and a sympathetic ear for me. Several cousins who had attended the party later told me they felt uncomfortable about Emma's absence, but hadn't known the full story. My cousin Thomas and his wife Beth stopped attending my mother's weekly Sunday dinners, quietly telling her they couldn't support the exclusion of a child from family events. When my mother attempted to ban them from other family gatherings in retaliation, 3 more families joined their boycott. The family dynamics that had seemed set in stone for decades were suddenly fluid, realigning around this conflict and the values it represented. It was both unsettling and strangely liberating. Meanwhile, my mother developed mysterious heart palpitations that she made sure everyone knew about. "The stress Natalie has caused could kill me," she told anyone who would listen. Medical tests showed nothing wrong, but she began carrying nitroglycerin tablets and dramatically clutching her chest during conversations about the ongoing financial issues. Rebecca's situation continued to deteriorate. Their hasty move to Greenwich had forced them to sell their Fairfield home at a significant loss. Jason, who had initially stood firmly by Rebecca's side, began showing signs of strain. At a cousin's wedding where we awkwardly found ourselves at adjacent tables, I overheard him asking her, "Was it really worth all this, Beck?" Over one kid's party. Emma, caught in the crossfire of adult conflicts she couldn't fully understand, began having nightmares. She would wake up crying, worried that her cousins hated her or that she had somehow caused the family problems. Despite my reassurances, the emotional impact was evident. I found a child psychologist specializing in family trauma, Dr. Lydia Chen. In weekly sessions, Emma began processing her feelings of rejection and confusion. Dr. Chen suggested I attend separate therapy sessions to manage my own complex emotions about the situation. "You took a stand to protect your daughter, which was absolutely appropriate," Dr. Chen told me during a parent consultation. "But there's a difference between protecting Emma from harm and shielding her from all difficult family dynamics. She needs tools to navigate complex relationships, not just avoidance." With Dr. Chen's guidance, Emma and I developed strategies for maintaining healthy connections with supportive family members while establishing clear boundaries with those who had hurt her. We created new traditions to replace the family gatherings we no longer attended: Sunday hiking adventures, monthly volunteer work at the local animal shelter, and Friday movie nights with Amanda's family. Emma's theater program became a source of joy and confidence. She landed a small speaking role in their summer production, giving her something positive to focus on. I invited supportive relatives to her performance, and when 7 family members showed up with flowers and handmade cards, Emma's smile was brighter than the stage lights. 3 months after the infamous party, I received an unexpected email from my cousin Madison, a teenager who had always been close to both Emma and Lily. Attached was a video compilation of family members sending love and messages to Emma. "Not everyone agrees with what happened," Madison wrote. "Some of us miss you guys a lot." The video brought tears to my eyes, aunts, uncles, and cousins telling Emma they loved her, missed her, and couldn't wait to see her again. Conspicuously absent were my mother, Rebecca, and Lily, but the gesture itself was healing for both Emma and me. Around this time, my career took an unexpected turn upward. A high-profile client referred me to several wealthy friends, praising my attention to detail and ethical standards. My accounting practice grew so quickly I had to hire an assistant. The financial security gave me confidence to maintain my boundaries with my mother and sister, knowing Emma and I would be fine on our own if necessary. 5 months after the party, Rebecca called me late one night. Her voice sounded different, subdued, almost defeated. "Jason's left," she said without preamble. "He says he can't handle the financial stress and family drama anymore. He's filing for joint custody of Lily." Despite everything, my heart ached for her. "I'm sorry to hear that, Rebecca." "Are you? Isn't this exactly what you wanted? My life falling apart?" "No," I said truthfully. "I wanted consequences for how you treated Emma, yes. But I never wanted your marriage to end or Lily to suffer." She was quiet for a moment. "The debt collectors keep coming. My real estate business is struggling in Greenwich where nobody knows me. Mom can barely cover her regular expenses after paying off the party vendors. It's all such a mess, Nat. For the first time, I heard genuine regret in her voice, not just for the consequences she was facing, but perhaps for her actions as well. It didn't have to be this way, I said softly. No, she agreed. It didn't. It wasn't an apology, not exactly. But it was a start. As summer turned to fall, I began cautiously dating again, something I hadn't done since before Emma was born. I met Michael, a kind-hearted architect and single father, at a school fundraiser. Our first few dates were coffee meetings where we mostly talked about our children and shared parenting challenges. By our fifth date, we were discussing our own hopes and dreams, laughing about dating in our 30s, and finding surprising common ground. My family's a bit complicated right now, I warned him one evening. Whose isn't? He replied with a gentle smile. Family is always complicated. The question is whether they're toxic or just human. His perspective was refreshing, grounded in reality, but fundamentally optimistic about people's capacity for growth and change. Through his eyes, I began to see possibilities for healing that had seemed impossible months earlier. The journey wasn't linear. There were setbacks, like when my mother sent Emma a birthday card with a check for exactly 1/8 the amount she gave Lily, a deliberate slight that reduced Emma to tears. Or when Rebecca tried to use Lily to manipulate Emma's feelings, having the girl call her cousin crying about how much she missed her. But there were also steps forward. My mother's sister Diane began hosting monthly family dinners, explicitly inviting Emma and me while establishing ground rules for respectful interaction. Some relatives chose not to attend when we were there. Others made a point of showing up specifically to support us. Slowly, painfully, our family was reconfiguring itself around new understandings and expectations. The old patterns of favoritism and manipulation were being challenged, not just by me but by others who had been silently uncomfortable for years. Through it all, I focused on Emma's well-being and my own healing. The therapist helped me see how my childhood as the difficult daughter had shaped my own insecurities and reactions. I learned to distinguish between setting healthy boundaries and seeking revenge, between protecting Emma and projecting my own unresolved hurts onto her situation. 7 months after the party incident, I received a formal letter from my mother. It wasn't the heartfelt apology I might have hoped for, but it was something, an acknowledgement that Emma's exclusion had been unfortunate, and an invitation to a small family gathering for Thanksgiving. The letter came with a separate note for Emma, inviting her to help make the traditional Wallace family apple pie the day before. I sat with the invitation for days, discussing it with my therapist, with Amanda, and finally with Emma herself. Do you want to go, sweetheart? It's completely your choice. We can have our own Thanksgiving here if you prefer. Emma thought about it seriously. I miss Grandma sometimes, even though she was mean. And I really miss my cousins. Could we go just for a little while? And leave if it feels bad. Absolutely, I promised. We'll go on our terms and leave whenever we want to. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. It wasn't reconciliation or a return to the way things had been. It was something new, a cautious step toward a different kind of family relationship, one built on respect rather than obligation, on genuine care rather than appearances. As I watched Emma carefully write her response to her grandmother, I felt a bittersweet pride. My daughter was learning earlier than I had that she deserved to be treated with kindness and respect, that she could love family members while still maintaining healthy boundaries, and that her worth wasn't determined by others' treatment of her. The road ahead would likely have more bumps and turns, but for the first time in months, it felt like we were moving forward rather than just surviving the aftermath of destruction. 1 year after the party that excluded Emma, our family landscape had transformed completely. What began as a devastating betrayal had catalyzed changes none of us could have predicted, some painful, others unexpectedly positive. In early spring, almost a year to the day after I discovered the party plans, my mother called and asked to meet me for coffee alone. We arranged to meet at a neutral location, a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. I arrived to find her already seated, looking older and somehow smaller than I remembered. "Thank you for coming," she began, her hands wrapped tightly around her coffee cup. "I've been doing a lot of thinking over these past months. And I need to apologize to you and to Emma. I remained silent, waiting for her to continue. What we did was wrong, she admitted, her voice catching. Excluding Emma from the party was cruel and inexcusable. I let Rebecca influence me too much, but that's not an excuse. I was the grandmother. I should have known better. Tears filled her eyes. I've lost so much this year. Your presence in my life, Emma's trust, the respect of many family members. But the worst part is knowing I caused real pain to my own granddaughter. I don't expect immediate forgiveness, Natalie. I just want a chance to try to make things right, whatever that might look like. It wasn't a perfect apology. There were still hints of self-pity in her words. But it was honest in a way my mother had rarely been with me. I appreciate your apology, I said carefully. But my priority has to be Emma's well-being. If there's going to be any relationship moving forward, it needs to be on terms that are healthy for her. We talked for over 2 hours, establishing clear boundaries and expectations. No more favoritism between the grandchildren. No using the children to manipulate adult relationships. Regular, consistent contact rather than grand gestures followed by long absences. And most importantly, a commitment to therapy, both individual counseling for my mother and eventually family sessions with Emma, her, and me. I'll do whatever it takes, she promised as we parted. I don't want to lose you both. For the first time in our complicated relationship, I believed her. Rebecca's journey toward reconciliation was longer and more difficult. The collapse of her marriage had forced her to confront some uncomfortable truths about herself. After months of bitterness and blame, she finally reached out with a handwritten letter that acknowledged the pain she had caused. I was jealous, she wrote. Jealous of the attention Emma got. Jealous of your success despite not following the right path. Jealous of your independence. I convinced myself Emma was a problem to justify excluding her, when the real problem was inside me all along. She had moved back to Fairfield, renting a modest apartment and rebuilding her real estate business from scratch. The financial aftermath of the party had been severe. Her credit was damaged, her savings depleted from the hasty move and divorce costs. But there was a humility to her now that had never been present before. Our first meeting was awkward, Rebecca, Lily, Emma, and me at a local park. The girls, resilient as children often are, were playing together on the swings within minutes while Rebecca and I sat on a bench watching them. Lily asks about Emma constantly, Rebecca said. Despite everything, they're still cousins. Still family. Emma talks about her too, I admitted. Family relationships are complicated, but they matter to her. I want to do better, Rebecca said simply. For Lily, for Emma, for all of us. It would take time to rebuild trust, but that day marked a beginning. The extended family, too, had changed. The factions that formed during the conflict had evolved into a more nuanced, honest family system. Some relationships strengthened through the crisis. Others revealed their conditional nature and faded away. Family gatherings were smaller now, but in many ways more genuine. My Aunt Diane had emerged as a new family matriarch of sorts, not through control like my mother, but through her steadfast commitment to fairness and inclusion. Her home became a gathering place where all were welcome, but accountability was expected. Families are meant to support each other, not tear each other down, she often said. We can disagree without being cruel. Emma blossomed throughout this year of change. The therapy helped her process her feelings of rejection and develop resilience. Her confidence grew, both in school and in her relationships. Most importantly, she learned that she could speak her truth, set boundaries, and still be loved. Not everyone will always be nice to you, I told her one night as I tucked her into bed. But you never have to accept being treated poorly, not even by family. Especially not by family. I know, Mom, she replied with the wisdom of a child who had learned hard lessons early. And standing up for yourself doesn't mean you don't love people. My own journey paralleled Emma's in many ways. I learned to distinguish between forgiveness and permission, that I could forgive past hurts without permitting future mistreatment. I discovered strengths I never knew I possessed and built a support system based on mutual respect rather than obligation. My relationship with Michael deepened throughout the year. He witnessed our family's transformation with compassionate understanding, never judging but always supporting my boundaries. His own healthy family relationships provided a model of what was possible: love without manipulation, disagreement without rejection, support without control. The financial consequences of my action remained significant. My mother had indeed been forced to sell the lake house to cover the party debts and other expenses. Rebecca was slowly rebuilding her credit and financial stability. I sometimes questioned whether my response had been too severe, whether a different approach might have achieved accountability without such far-reaching repercussions. But when I watched Emma confidently performing in her school play, surrounded by friends and supportive family members, or saw her engaged in deep conversation with my mother, who now listened attentively rather than dismissively, I knew the painful journey had been necessary. One warm Saturday in May, exactly 1 year and 1 month after the infamous party, Emma celebrated her 8th birthday. We hosted a small gathering in our apartment building's communal garden. Nothing elaborate, just cake and games and genuine warmth. My mother arrived early to help set up, bringing a thoughtfully chosen gift rather than an extravagant one designed to impress. Rebecca and Lily came bearing handmade cards and nervous smiles. Aunt Diane, cousins Thomas and Jessica with their families, and a few of Emma's school friends completed the guest list. Michael and his son Jake helped me arrange chairs and hang balloons. As I watched Emma blow out her candles, surrounded by people who truly valued her, I reflected on the lessons of the past year. That protecting your child sometimes requires difficult, even extreme measures. That real consequences often teach what conversations cannot. That family patterns can be broken with decisive action and clear boundaries. That forgiveness is possible, but doesn't mean returning to unhealthy dynamics. That rebuilding trust happens slowly, through consistent actions rather than grand gestures. And perhaps most importantly, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to disrupt a system that hurts the people you love, even when that disruption causes pain of its own. Make a wish, sweetheart, I called as Emma prepared to blow out her candles. She closed her eyes tightly, took a deep breath, and then looked up at me with a smile that illuminated her entire face before extinguishing all 8 flames with one decisive breath. Later, as guests were leaving, my mother gently touched my arm. "Thank you for allowing me to be here today," she said quietly. "I know I haven't earned back full trust yet, but I'm grateful for the chance to try." "We're finding our way forward," I replied. "All of us." Family is complicated. Healing is rarely linear. And the lessons that transform us most profoundly often come wrapped in pain. But standing in that garden, watching Emma's joy as she opened presents surrounded by people committed to loving her better, I knew we had emerged from the darkness into something new, something imperfect but real, something worth building upon. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have taken such dramatic action to protect your child, or would you have chosen a different path? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members to protect yourself or someone you love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear that standing up for yourself and your children is not just acceptable, sometimes it's absolutely necessary. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, family should be where we feel most valued, not least.